Good afternoon, or good morning, or good day, or good night, or wherever you are in this world, in this crazy, crazy Google Plus world. If I would share with you what has happened in the last hour, and how I had a half a dozen conversations going, and how I was setting up an HOA, and how we had two hangouts talking to each other. And, oh my goodness, it's an amazing world that we live in. And as you know, well, first of all, SmallBizDavid, and welcome, and thank you for sharing your time with me today. This is Global Entrepreneurship Week, and it's a very, very exciting week for me because the event was actually started by the Kauffman Foundation in Kansas City. The Kauffman Foundation is the, emphasis on the word the, entrepreneurship foundation in the entire world. Ewing Marion Kauffman started the foundation. I don't even know how old the foundation is, but he was an entrepreneur who started a business probably in his garage and ended up selling a pharmaceutical business. I'm not exactly sure what the number was, but I'm pretty sure it was close to multi-billion dollars. And the true story of entrepreneurship. And Mark, maybe you didn't know this, but Ewing Marion Kauffman was responsible for creating the Kansas City Royals baseball team, actually. And he did that, 28 years ago when they first started, and they hadn't been in a World Series since he started the team. So that was kind of cool, a cool thing happening. Well, about 6 or 7 years ago, I don't even remember when, the Kauffman Foundation started the event. I did not participate in it in the first year because I didn't know about it. Then I started to hear about it, and it excited me. So I've been a distinguished partner of the event. It's the second week in November every year, and I've been a distinguished partner. I believe this is my 6th year. For sure it's my 5th, maybe my 6th year of being a distinguished partner. And it's an exciting week for me because it truly is a week. Well, it's being celebrated in over 150 countries around the world. More than 40,000 events, and my HOA right now would be considered an event. There'll be more than 40,000 events by entrepreneurs in over 150 countries, touching the lives of more than 10 million people to talk about entrepreneurship. And the reason why I get so excited about it is because I truly believe that I am obligated with my 40-plus years of small business experiences, successes and not so successes, but to share the experiences with folks who are maybe entrepreneurs today and need an extra boost of some sort in their business, or particularly individuals starting a business, and for sure what I call students of entrepreneurship, those folks who are in school right now, and it's our obligation to show that the entrepreneurship is a valid choice for what they want to do with their lives. And I've been fortunate in my entire life, not necessarily saying, boy, I want to start a business and I want to build a business and da-da-da-da-da. I, by circumstance, ended up in business, buying a business when I was 24 years old, paying $10,000 for that business, had no idea really what $10,000 meant in the business world back in those years. But you know why I did it? Because my grandfather told me that's what I was going to do. And I said, okay, Papa, you're the boss. I'll do it. And I ended up giving the $10,000 to my mother. So, Mark, is there any better place to invest $10,000 in your mother than when your grandfather tells you to do it?
You got to do it. You got to do it. I find it interesting. I was watching your show yesterday with your gentleman from Australia, and I was watching the conversation with Entrepreneurial. And so I've got an idea of what you're putting forward here with an entrepreneurial spirit. And I think that's the catchword right there is entrepreneurial spirit. And where does that come from, and what is it, and what is an entrepreneur? I have had that entrepreneurial spirit from a very young age because I was always on the rough side of life, and I just did things that were all about making money from a young age. And somehow that kind of sparked it in me. It's part of our society in America as far as free enterprise, and that's kind of where it comes from, is a free enterprise system that allows you to have dreams, to be able to want to excel and to be able to increase your worth by doing something, by putting, like you said yesterday, of value out into the world, that you give value. And that's where it really comes from. And that's what I was thinking about last night as we were getting ready for the show, is where does it come from in me? Where does that spark come from? And it's just that. It's something that it's within me that wants to give value for what I find value in myself. So putting that out, it could be a product. It could be a tangible item. It can be a consultant, like you see a couple of people on Google Plus that are out being consultants for what they do.
A couple people?
Yeah, just a little, exactly. So in that regards, that's where it comes from. Where that spark usually is at a younger age. Most people kind of get that spark at a younger age. And it's what society dictates that you are. In other words, as you get older, you start to say, okay, I've got to go to college and I work for the other man. Or, wait a minute, I don't have to do that. I can go out and do my own thing, and I can try to do this on my own and create my own business. And then you have failure, and we talk about that all the time, and you talk about it. Your little word for it is that there is no such a word.
Not so successful.
Right, right, exactly.
Well, so, no. To me, failure comes in not trying. That's the failure when you don't try.
There you go. So it started for me from a young age. Right out of high school, I started my own business, and it was what I loved to do at the time, and I still love it. I just couldn't make a living at it, which was being a professional dog trainer. And I was very good at what I did. I knew I could do that, and I had a choice. I could either go to college and go to junior college and start trying to get credits and do it that way. And I lived in a town that was a college town, so I understood what that lifestyle was all about. Or I could go ahead and try to do this on my own and build my own business. And I decided to do it that way, that I was going to go out and do my own business and pursue that.
You bring a good point that I didn't even think that we might get into, but let me dig a little deeper on something you just said. I have a very good friend here in Cincinnati. He's been a strong supporter of everything that I've done, and his name is Chuck Matthews. Actually, if he weren't traveling around the world, I would have done an HOA with him, but he's the hardest guy in the world to tie down. Anyway, he started the entrepreneurship department at the University of Cincinnati. And he comes from unlike many other entrepreneurship departments that have started in colleges around the country, college and universities around the country. He started the program coming from a true entrepreneurial background in his family businesses. So it wasn't so much just an academician starting a department. It was an entrepreneur starting an entrepreneurship department. Anyway, I've had more than one discussion with him, and we might have even been public with it one time. And he gets back in his chair when I ask him, when I challenge him, and I say to him, Chuck, let's have a discussion. Why should a student, and I don't want to put you out of business, Chuck, why should a student go to college? A college education today can cost easily $100,000. And let's just say it costs $100,000. Let's just say the college education costs $100,000. Why should a student go to college for $100,000 and maybe have something at the end of the journey? Or they might go into a marketplace that isn't hiring folks. And they don't have anything after investing $100,000. Why don't they take that $100,000 and start a business? And he sits back in his chair and said, "Oh, geez, I don't know. Let's talk about this one." Well, you made me think of that story, Mark, by what you just said, because at that point in your life, you had a choice.
Right.
And depending upon where you were in your life, what the circumstances were, what was going on, then you could do certain things, and there are certain things you could do. And that's precisely where I want us to be today, for you to share your story and wanting to start a business, not wanting to start a business, you have started a business, but the challenges of starting it, and your challenges are, well, they're unique to you because it's about you, but the challenges that you're at, and you and I have been talking how long now about your business idea, a good, it could be
6
almost
months.
a year.
Yeah,
Wow.
6 8 months somewhere.
Yeah, and you bring so much energy out of me, and I see your passion in wanting to do what you want to do with your life, and I've told you I will offer anything that I can to help you.
I think the big word, you just said it right there, David, is the word passion. Because that's what it takes. It takes passion to be able to want to do something towards entrepreneurship. Because if you don't have the passion for something, it's not going to transfer over and to go out into the public and do it. That's the one thing that I have that I think beats all my competitors, is my passion. And that's what makes me different than they are, that can hold this mantle up to go after something, is my passion for what I'm going after. If you don't have that, you might as well not even start out of the gate.
Okay, two things. I want you to eliminate from your mindset.
Okay.
And this is someone with experience talking in a mentoring capacity. The only competitor you have, Mark, is yourself.
Right, I understand that, but at the same time, we're all human, and we all do that. Where we watch our competition, we're aware of our competition. It's for me, it's my motivator. It's one of my motivators, because I want to be the big fish on the top of the pile. And everybody has that ego, whether they admit it or they don't. It's all there for all of us. Now, can it be a hang-up, and can you have a problem with that, where that would be a detriment? Definitely, because you need to concentrate on what you're doing every day of the week and concentrate on the ball that you're trying to carry up the field. And if you start worrying about your competition, then that's going to be a detriment, because you're spending that in negative energy. So your point is very valid, but it's in all of us. That we all have that tendency to keep an eye on what's going on in our market.
You made an interesting statement at the very beginning of this part of the discussion, when you said the thing that differentiates you from your competitors is your passion, and that's a very interesting statement. Now, I have to assume by your logo and by your background design in your studio, that your passion is music. Am I on the right track there?
That is my passion, is music. That can be many and varied. You can go a lot of different ways for it. I've got other people in the market, in the industry, that what I've done is I've kind of created a whole image and a mantle of having friends through the screen. I started something a long time ago that most of my competitors didn't realize. Back then it wasn't as prevalent. Right now it is, because of Google Plus and the world that we live here in this little niche market on Google Plus, is that they talk about a lot of buzzwords. Relationships are so important. All these things, I've been doing them for years. I knew that it was so important for me to go out and introduce myself to somebody, whoever it may be, that I was interested in, that had something they were doing in my market, that I could befriend them and start to learn and grow from what they had to give and what they had to put out. So relationship marketing is what they call it. And it's one of the most important things you can do, is build relationships. So
do you know when, Mark, I'm going to tell you because you don't know, but I built my first community over 40 years ago.
Right.
And it was very difficult to build a community. Not difficult. I mean, it was challenging. But with today's technology,
exactly. Well, that's one of the things I try to
build a community.
Try to make people realize that are so down on what we have going on economy-wise, and what we have going on in the world right now. So many people don't feel that they can do anything with their lives because of the situation that's going on in economy. But at the same time, you have so much that's positive because of the technology we have available to us. You have the ability to do things now that you never had the ability. And you were talking about school. Let's go back to that a little bit.
Sure.
School is nothing more than knowledge, and right now you have a world of knowledge on the internet. Everything that you could ever want, everything you could ever think about is available to you in being able to get the resources and the knowledge. And then you combine that with the relationship gets that you can get. There is relationships in every. If I wanted a tax person right now, David knows one of the best tax people in the industry. I could probably go over and get to meet this young lady and build a relationship and have a world of knowledge available to me through what she's putting out into the world through her books and everything. And what's her name? I'm sorry.
I'm doing an HOA with her tomorrow morning
Yes.
at 10:30
Yes.
a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Her name is Barbara Weltman, and we're going to be talking. She just released her book, Small Business Taxes 2015. This is it's either the 15th or the 16th year that she has released this book.
There you go. And see, now where did you get that relationship from, David?
Barbara and I, it wasn't on Google. Barbara and I have gone through a really interesting. Well, first of all, she publishes a daily business idea. And I started reading those. I said, wow, this lady is a storehouse. She's a storehouse of information about small business, and she's one of the best. I said, I thought I was a big small business advocate. This lady is.
Right. So you reached out to her on the internet and
No. I think the first, maybe I did. Well, I had to. I did reach out to her on the internet, but it was before G Plus and everything else. But Barbara and I have been doing live streaming together with me producing for about 7 years now.
Right.
And we had a really neat and interesting thing before Google. I was streaming on a website, and I had a good thing going. I had 20,000 followers. I had 2.5 million views in a 3-year period. I was rocking and rolling on this website. Well, then I connected with Barbara, and I said, Barbara, let's do a Friday morning, 9 o'clock a.m. Just chat. We'll talk about small business. You'll talk about things happening in your world of taxes, and we'll get things going. So, Mark, I had a camera in front of me, just like I have right now, and I was live streaming on an internet. I had a screen and another camera over here on the other side of me, and I put Barbara on Skype. Barbara was actually on Skype, so I had the two cameras facing each other. So my audience was watching my screen via Skype.
Right.
Barbara was on Skype. And that's how we did it. That's what was available.
So what you're saying in a nutshell is you're a pioneer, David. That's what you're telling us.
No, well, I you know what? I don't care about that. That's no.
I know. I'm just.
The challenge of an entrepreneur is to figure out how to make it work.
Very true. And there's another watchword for you when I keep keying in on certain watchwords is creativity. Creativity is so important, being coming out with ideas and creativity towards whatever project you're putting it forward. And that can go into any market that you're in. It doesn't matter. That creative ability to present something and put it forward to the public, to be able to ingest it, to be able to sell your product is really important.
I got a secret for you, Mark. Creativity is my competitive edge.
There you go. That's it. Exactly.
Don't tell the world that.
I think I would kind of say that that's kind of mine as well, and it's a different thing. So back to entrepreneurship, where I started it started from a young age, and it's always been with me. It tends to rear its ugly head when I'm in transitions from working for the other man. So I'll have a job and I'll be working, and then all of a sudden my job will end, and there's a transition period in there, and I always get that spark of entrepreneur. It's been happening for years. I've done everything you could possibly think of, and I've always went out to pursue it. This time I've got a little bit more of an edge because I have a 10-year stint behind me with a little bit of money and a little bit of ability to invest in, and that's what it takes, investment of time and effort and money to have the capital to start a business. So this time it's a little different, and I'm really trying to leverage as best that I can the relationships and the ability to build the relationships of all the knowledge that we have available to us on Google+. Because as our little niche market, and you know, we have a world of knowledge with people that are just way up there in their knowledge bases and their experiences in life that can add to any entrepreneur's ability to make a success or a failure of their business. And I know you hate that word failure. Their endeavors, their attempts to.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you.
Well,
it's you know, one of the biggest challenges that we have today, and you said the key today is the access to information.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't have that access to information when I started my first business 40 years ago.
I would have killed the world if I had that as a kid coming out with my enthusiasm back then. I would have killed the world.
We went to the library. We opened up a book and we did our research. That's how we got the information. We use an encyclopedia. You probably don't even know. Wow, you know what an encyclopedia is.
No, sure. Sure I do, David. But books were a big part of what I did as a young man to try to learn and grow and to go after what I was pursuing at the time. I did my first. I was into protection dog training back then. It was my whole world was about dog training, and I wanted to train protection dogs. So one of my first books was Guard Dog Training by William Kohler, who was a Disneyland dog trainer and trained for the movies. And he's basically a pioneer in the dog training field, and it's changed dramatically since then. So that's archaic now, but that was how I learned to train a protection dog. I went out and got myself a German Shepherd.
Living in L.A., you probably went to go to visit him.
No, I wasn't in L.A. I was in my little small hometown of San Luis Obispo, California, where I grew up, which was in the country. 200 miles, right in the smack in the middle of L.A. and San Francisco is paradise. San Luis Obispo, California is right there on the coast where you have the San Simeon and all that with Hearst Castle. Have you ever heard of Hearst Castle? It's beautiful.
Absolutely.
So that was my imprint in life, was growing up in a small college town, because there's a college, Cal Poly Tech is there.
I've actually been to that community.
Mm-hmm.
I was there when I was 12 years old, and that was 53 years ago.
Yeah, a long time ago.
Well, I won't ask you how old were you 53 years ago. You weren't even born 53 years ago. Let's
not go there. All right, well, it's your show, so you keep digging. I'm just winging it.
It's your show. I love it. Yeah, but you're doing all the transitions for me. I don't even have to work today. You're doing all the transitions for me.
It just comes natural, David.
Okay, so you really haven't dealt with the challenge. I don't know how deep you want to go into the challenge. I know what it is. I don't know how deeply you want to share with it, but it really is something I would like you to share and go pretty deep with, because it's the biggest challenge. Someone who has never had anything to do with business and really has that passion to want to start a business has to go through what you are going through, but you've been there and done that kind of thing, so it's a different kind of.
But it's still scarier, because in my challenge right now, I've got a lot more that I plan on investing in it, and the learning curve is so much more for me to have to go through with what I'm planning on trying to do. So that is a big challenge, and then putting all the pieces together to secure the lacks, because everybody has positives and negatives in who they are in business as far as your knowledge base and what you do better. Some things you do better than others, and being self-honest with yourself and knowing what those are and being able to try to plug those holes by getting the skills around you to be able to achieve those is very important. So you've got to being an entrepreneur takes a lot of self-honesty, to be honest with you. Go ahead.
Tell us what the Music Pulse is, and tell us where the Music Pulse will be 1 year from now.
Okay. The Music Pulse right now is started out where I cover the music industry and do a lot of posting and talking about it. I started a website on Google+, which is the Music Pulse. And then I have a .net site that is a mirror site. So in other words, I have my own website that mirrors it. So I look at it as a bookend. You're using Google Plus to market yourself, and you're using that to reach the world. And all my posts go out to all the other platforms as well, with an echoing with Friends and Me, which is a good application to use if you're on Google Plus. It allows you to be able to post once, and it goes out to the other platforms. So I use that, and then we are trying to build up a I guess you would call it a publication, because what we're doing is I'm going to have a magazine that's entwined with it. For producing one this month, matter of fact, that will be coming out at the end of this month. Will be one of the second magazines I've done. We did one about a year ago and it faltered, and I want to try to make sure that we achieve one a month and keep after the crew so that we have what I call a cherry on the top.
So you and I are not competitors, Mark, because I am publishing a magazine. A digital magazine.
If you're talking about markets and everybody's watching, they know that print media is dead and it's going away, and it's all going to become digital publications, and it will become more and more so as we go along. Will be digital magazines, and that was what I'm doing. I'm doing a digital magazine that will go along with my website. Once a month we'll put that out, and I look at it as a cherry on the top. It will be an added extra on top of what we're doing. It will cover what we've done through the month on the platform, and then it will accent and augment what we've got going on, and that will come out as an extra. We're putting that out as a way of giving ourselves a grabber, so to speak, because the digital magazine looks really nice. We're going to have some good guests in it. We're going to have some good publications. That being the case, that'll be our way of getting our mailing list built up, is the whole idea behind that. So that's what we're after right now. Where will I be at in a year from now? There's going to be a full digital, broadcasting side of it as well. Using Google Hangouts on Air, we have the potential to be able to produce our own Hangouts. That will be done to cover the music industry, and at that time, up till now, my challenge has been trying to keep all the pots on the stove warm. In other words, I have been working a full-time job, so because of that, and I have a wacky schedule, as you know, I've been just keeping the pots warm and basically trying to line up everything so that when I am out of work in April, which my job is ending, my company that I've worked for over 10 years is pulling out of the area, and when they leave, I will be without a job. And so I have set my goals and my sights on trying to make sure I build this business and having that be where I go in life. So in April, I will be totally freed up. And then I will be able to put in my full 110 hours a week, or whatever, a day, and be able to build this little goal and aspiration and dream that I've got going on. In a year from now, I hope to be, after April, at the end of April, I hope to have a full production studio up for my Hangouts on Air. We're going to be building a studio in the front room. It's going to be a mobile studio, so I will have it built up to be able to put the green screens and all that good stuff up in the front room and be able to produce Hangouts on a regular basis, but then I want to try to go downtown to LA. I live in the suburbs of LA, and I will drive into LA and start squeezing some flesh and actually start taking advantage of all the relationships that I built up online and trying to move that into the real world and take that into LA and do interviews with artists, cover the music industry, and cover our LA market, which I'm very lucky in that respect. I couldn't do probably anything that I want to do if I wasn't in the LA market. So it's very important that I go out there and do that and build my market. So where am I going to be in a year? I'm going to be a very busy man.
Good. Well, you made a funny statement earlier today when we were talking that you and I communicated real early this morning. I don't even remember what time it was, but you said, well, 12:30 a.m. You try to figure out if it was yesterday, today, or tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, my schedule is very wacky, as you know. I have what's called a knockoff. I do 2 days day, 2 days swing, and I end it on a graveyard. So my body is so out of whack, it's not even funny. And all that, and I've still done what I've done online. So I'm pretty proud of myself in that respect. So it's going to be interesting when I get to do it full time.
For as long as I've known you, and as many times as we have spoken with one another, I still don't get. I don't get how your schedule works.
Well, you're covering everybody else's days off is the way it works. So that if I do this and flip like I'm doing, I'm basically covering their days off because they work different shifts. You've got a first shift, a second shift, and then a graveyard shift. So I end up flipping to cover their days off, and it works out for the company because you have 4 shifts, first, second, third, and then I'm the 4th. I'm the guy that covers everybody's shift.
But you still only work 40 hours for the company or more?
Correct. I work 40 hours for the company with a schedule that'll kill an elephant.
Well, I've watched you for all these months, and I don't know. I certainly couldn't do it. I mean,
Hence the eye shadows under my eyes and how tired I always look. So.
well, it's been fun, and as I told you earlier, my next HOA is going to be with a Nigerian entrepreneur,
Very
and
cool.
tried to do it on Monday, and it's just kind of one of those things. His connectivity in Nigeria, you just don't know if it's going to work or not work. And talk about challenges for entrepreneurs. His first challenge is, how do I communicate with people in Nigeria, and how do I communicate with the rest of the world?
That's interesting, yeah, because he's got a time difference that he's got to deal with. And
Well, the
then
time difference isn't that bad. The time difference between he and I is the same 5 hours that I have between myself and the United Kingdom. So that the time difference isn't that big a deal. It's just is there connectivity that day? That's kind
in
of what
other
it
words,
comes
their
down to.
infrastructure for the internet for them is not as good. It's so important to have good speed and all that, and I think that's why you see Google moving markets towards their fiber optics and all that, because they're creating a whole marketing competition towards speed that's needed to give the society the tools that they need to go where we're going with new technologies. So it's really cool.
You know what? One question I have never asked you for as many times as we've spoken with one another, and you're in the position that you are right now, a physical position. Why was it that you picked the Beatles to be behind you instead of any of the other
Oh, the
members of
Beatles are
people?
synonymous with music. You can't hold that against me. But a good friend of mine had a few of these posters that they got from because again, College Town. This is where I was born and raised. He's down there in San Luis, and they had all these posters that they had gotten from a gentleman that used to have a record store. And so they offered me to go ahead and take a couple of them, and which ones do you want? Well, the Beatles was the one I grabbed because that's synonymous with music, buddy. That's where it all started.
Well, I watched the Beatles when they were on Ed Sullivan
That's
in
it.
1964. I was there watching them.
That's what
So,
it's all about.
well,
So
thank
I
you very
thank you.
much for your time today, Mark. You have an interesting story to tell in that it's pretty classical because your passion is getting this business up and running, but you've got other demands on your hours of the day, and it's so tough for you to do the things that you want to do. But it's going to happen in time. You're doing the right things. I've been watching you for a long time, and you're doing the right things, and things will happen. And as I said, any way that I or people in our community are dreaming with entrepreneurs in Google Plus community can help you. Just put a posting out there and say and let folks know we've got a lot of talent and skills within the community.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you for having me.
Well, have a great day, and I guess I don't know what day or what time or what if it's tomorrow or the next day or to yesterday or when it is. I'm going to see you next, but you know how to get in touch with me.
Thank you very much, Mr. SmallBizDavid.
Well, thank you, and I want to thank you for taking your time. And if you have a question that you would like to address personally with Mark or with myself, get it into the event stream, and you will get a personal response from one of the two of us. We both understand the importance of engagement, and Mark talked about it earlier about building relationships. That's how we build our businesses today. We build it through the relationships that we can build. My name is SmallBizDavid, and I will see you the next time, which may very well be the best time. See you then.